You know, this here is a ultimate simplification of the political science behind what is happening in the United States. I don't want you to use violence or go into radical actions, but I do want to warn you. Once J.D. Vance called Donald J. Trump a Hitler, and now he is part of the government of Hitler. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't really want to call Donald Trump Hitler or Nazi, because many people use the word Nazi, and it starts to lose the meaning. So instead of stigmatizing Donald Trump, I'm going to show you the true colors of Donald Trump. That means I have to show you political science on a head of state level. And that is, of course, going to be above your head, as you see in this letter. It's pretty simplified, and I did that to make it broadly understandable for everyone. So you are the people, and you have your leaders. And one of your leaders was assassinated, which was Charlie Kirk. I know that's not your leader, right? That's what people say here in the West. That's not my pastor. That's not my major and stuff like that. So sure, there are different clans, and every clan has a leader, and the people in the clan, right, call that person their, or at least they treat that person as a leader. They respect that person. So the CEO of a company would be the leader of a clan. And the leader of Turning Point USA would be the leader of a clan. And these clans have people associating with them, and that's their birthright. That's the political science down there, so to say, without trying to appear arrogant or down-talking. You know what I'm saying? I just gotta break down the prism of American political science, right? And then above that are the states. All right, this is where it becomes more difficult. So the leaders have the smallest birthright, and the managers of the leaders are the states. That's the political clan. So you got all these clans, and all the clans have a purpose. This is basic political science. You have the merchants, you have the judicial department, you have the military, you got the sports, entertainment, the education system, medical systems. Society needs all these things to run. And it's the job of the central clan, the state clan, to make sure that, everyone is taxed, that everyone is brought to justice, right? So they have a different purpose. They're like the referees, right? So to help you understand what the problem is, when the people and the leaders run out of legacy, this is the issue. So what is legacy? Your forefathers built the system, created prosperity, created a functioning civilization, so the system owes them. If you go and build a company, you employ people, you drag people out of misery, blah, 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 and you get honor. So you have rights. So God gives you rights, just to give it a religious term. The system gives you rights. So people have a lot of privilege and a lot of position in the American destiny because of what their ancestors did. So you have these leaders who are sitting on generational quote-unquote bank accounts. And they're yapping and putting their nose in this and that. And they're challenging, and they're theorizing, and they're going everywhere and nowhere. They're just having fun. Another theory, and this theory, and that theory, and let's try this, and everyone is just experimenting with reality, right? And so they are depleting. So all of a sudden, what happens is that the states no longer accept the leaders, because the states give account to the federal government, and the federal government has the right to tax, the right to draft, and the right to bring to justice. So when the generational legacy runs out, the system turns against the leaders and the people, whereby the supreme clan, right, start to destroy legacies, right? And because the people and the leaders are taking and taking and taking from the system, the legitimacy of the people and the leaders of the system is removed, whereby only the government, ladies and gentlemen, has legitimacy. So they will start to extract from the leaders and the people. Because the leaders and the people are just taking, they'll have a philosophy of vanity. You know, you have the hedonistic people, and you have these Christian cults talking to the Christian cults. You know, the Bible says it's better to be hot or cold than to be lukewarm. So if you're not religious, just sit it out for a second. I'll keep it short. That kind of means that Jesus Christ has feelings. Jesus Christ feels like this. It's better to walk away and act, you know, that it's not there, or to be on fire and be in it, than to act like you're in it, because then you're a faker. So Jesus Christ rather have you to just walk away than act like you belong to him, because that's just disgusting, right? It's like a fake friend. What do you hate more, your enemy or your fucking fake friends? You know, that's just the way how I speak, just to make a point. So you've got all these Christian cults in America, and then you have these do-it-yourself morality leaders in the United States. It's like the whole do-it-yourself shit. You know, that's maybe what Donald Trump would call it backstage. You're all doing something. You have not figured it out. There is no universal standard. There is no building. There's just taking. How many builders? Man fight with woman. Woman fight with man. You don't want to have children. You know, it's a mess. It's chaos, right? And the chaos is imploding upon itself. The people are fighting and shooting and getting all riled up, right? And then the government go like, okay, let's destroy their legacy, right? Let's tax them to death, let's draft them to death, and let's bring them to justice. Turning against the people, stripping you from your freedom. So, the turning point United States legacy is ending. Okay, let's redesign this thing into a recruitment place for the army, because this clan has no more legitimacy. So the government is going to redesign all the leaders to their own image. And you're all going to say, Heil. And if you don't, you know what I'm saying? That's called end game. So I'm just trying to, use creativity to project like Thanos over Trump. So you understand that whoever stands in his way, right, on that lower level, you will be assimilated like J.D. Vance, or you will be taken care of. All right? So the White House is not what you think it is. It's not your friend. It's your enemy. So this is why I said in the beginning, I'm not calling you to violence or anything of that nature, because you have to understand, when the quote-unquote Avengers in this film Endgame started to fight Thanos, they couldn't win because they had corruption. They have like this theory, you need to pick up the hammer to be found worthy. So if you're unworthy, your enemies are going to come and take you down. That's what's happening. So when you start fighting your enemies with swords, and your enemies are the judgment of God upon your wickedness and your hypocrisy, you're going to lose that battle. So this is more of a wake-up call. The legacy of America is depleting, and your Hitler is rising. And it's not really his fault, in a sense. It is his fault for cooperating with a Luciferian satanic agenda to take America down and redesign it to its own image, to bring the beast upon you. Okay, I think I made my point, right? Your karmic account, your systemic legacy is so low that your enemies are just going to overrun you, because, God no longer grants you these rights you claim, because what are they using these rights for? To create an empire of destruction? Use your mind and see what Donald Trump is. That's not your friend. That's your enemy. who will eliminate anything standing in its way. So when you have identified Donald J. Trump as a systemic legacy destroyer that is just manipulating and scamming and putting everyone up against each other like a traditional dystopian society leader would, most of America knows that. But calling someone a Hitler, that's not a small thing to say, right? So many people that might see this form of political science would agree on me. However, they would not understand why I would use these terms like Hitler. So, for those people, allow me to civilize your mind by showing you Hitler. But Donald Trump is a Christian, right? He talks about God. He goes to the funeral of Christians and talks about and suffers Christianity. How can he be a Hitler? Alright, I'm dramatizing a little bit for fun. But I'm being serious with you. You know what? Hitler used words like that the German Empire would be 1,000-year lasting empire. Why would you say that? Who cares? Empires come and many generations pass by. People don't measure empire in terms of that, in that frame. No, you use those terms because that's what the people believe. The people are waiting for Jesus Christ to come back and bring 1,000-year empire. So to get people to come along, they need to be brought into a psyop whereby they believe that this is the prophesied point in time where the Messiah is ruling the world. Hitler, right? So Hitler was very excellent at understanding what drives the people down there. Okay? So Donald J. Trump knows that you are Christian. So what does he need to do? He needs to act like he is the supreme Christian. Right? So everything that is happening, he will use the prism of Christianity to make you believe in the psyop. He is calling out for donations so that he can go to heaven. Right? If you use your marbles, you know that you can't use money to go to heaven. Jesus Christ dies on a cross to pay for your karmic negativity so that you can get a karmic reset, and that's how you go to heaven, and that's how you are born again. Your systemic spiritual status needs to be reset, and then you can go into another direction than the current path that you are on. There's no money involved. But in this system, money is the means to control. So the moment the depleting legacy of the people gives the state the right to bring to justice, the head says, give me your money. Then I can go to the place you want me to go. You all want me to go to heaven, right? So why don't you give me the blessings of God? It's a psyop.